Hello there. I'm going to read a book. And that book is The Mastery of Love by this guy right here. Don Miguel Ruiz. Ruiz? Ruiz, that's right. It's a good book. I read one chapter out of it, but I want to read it all the way through. I really like it. So I'm going to start at the very beginning here. It says, a practical guide to the art of relationship. Right there. The mastery of love. Let's see. Where should we read the inside cover here or something? In Toltec tradition, 3 fundamental mastery guides us to our true nature, which is happiness, freedom, and love. The first is the mastery of awareness. This mastery teaches us to be aware of what we really are. It is the first step towards freedom, because we cannot be free if we don't know what we are, or what kind of freedom we are looking for. The Toltecs said, "Let us see ourselves with truth," and they created a mastery just for awareness. The second is the mastery of transformation. Oh, I like that. The mastery of transformation. How do we do that one? Which teaches us how to become spiritual warriors and stock our actions and reactions so we can break free of the knowledge that enslaves us. Wow. The mastery shows us how to change the dream of our life by changing our agreements and beliefs. Interesting. The mastery of love, that's this one, is the result of first 2 masteries. Oh, like they're combined together. From the Toltec perspective, everything is made of love. Love is life itself. When we master love, we align with the spirit of life passing through us. We are no longer the body or mind or the soul. We are love. Then every action we take is an expression of love, and love in action can only produce happiness. When we master awareness, transformation, and love, we reclaim our divinity and become one with God. This is the goal of the Toltec. Nice. That's cool. Let's read the back. In The Mastery of Love, Don Miguel Ruiz illuminates the fear-based beliefs and assumptions that undermine love and lead to suffering and drama in our relationships. Using insightful stories to bring his message to life, Ruiz shows us how to heal our emotional wounds, recover the freedom and joy that are our birthright, and restore the spirit of playfulness that is vital to loving relationships. The mastery of love includes why domestication and the image of perfection lead to self-rejection. The war of control that slowly destroys most relationships. Why we hunt for love in others and how to capture the love inside of us. Ooh, nice. How to finally accept and forgive ourselves and others. Sounds pretty good. It's like basic stuff, right? Oh, there's the inside jacket on the back. Oh, there's more. Don Miguel Ruiz was born into a family of healers and raised in rural Mexico by curandera healers. Oh, mother and a Nigel shaman grandfather. The family anticipated that Miguel would embrace their centuries-old legacy of healing and teaching and carry forward the esoteric Toltec knowledge instead. Distracted by modern life, Miguel chose to attend medical school and become a surgeon. Oh, I didn't know that. A near-death experience changed his life. Late one night in the early 1970s, he woke suddenly, having fallen asleep at the wheel of his car. Oh, geez. At that instant, the car careened into a wall of concrete. Geez. Don Miguel remembered that he was not in his physical body as he watched himself pull his 2 friends to safety. Whoa. It's written on purple paper, so it's kind of hard to read. Stunned by this experience, he began an intensive practice of self-inquiry. He devoted himself to the mastery of the ancient ancestral wisdom, studying earnestly with his mother and completing an apprenticeship with a powerful shaman in the Mexican desert. His grandfather, who had since passed on, continued to teach him in his dreams. Oh, sweet. In the tradition of the Toltec, a Nigel guides an individual to personal freedom. Don Miguel Ruiz, a Nigel from the Eagle Knight lineage, has dedicated his life to sharing the wisdom of the ancient Toltec. Nice. This is also available in Spanish. Let's see, it should be. Alright, let's see. Is there any pictures in here? No, there's no pictures. Just the front cover is nice. There's a couple dog-eared pages. Alright, let's start at the beginning. Copyright 1999, blah, blah, blah. Okay, here we go. To my parents, my children, my siblings, and the rest of my family. Oh, he has kids. With whom I am bonded not only by love, but by our blood and ancestral roots. To my spiritual family, with whom I am bonded by our decision to create a family based on unconditional love, mutual respect, and the precise practice of the mastery of love. And to my human family, whose minds are fertile for the seed of love contained in this book, may these seeds of love flourish in your life. Nice. All right. Let's see where this next page takes us. The table of contents for this book, The Mastery of Love, is the introduction, the master, the wounded mind, the loss of innocence, the man who didn't believe in love, the track of love, the track of fear, the perfect relationship, the magical kitchen, the dream master. The biggest demon in hell is the last one. It's gonna be good. Oh, there's more. The divine huntress, seeing with eyes of love, healing the emotional body, and God within you. Nice. Well, that'll be good. All right. Acknowledgements. There's some acknowledgements here. Let's see what they are. They're acknowledging people, you guys. I wish to express my gratitude to Janet Mills, who, like a mother with her own child, gave form to this book with all her love and dedication. I would also like to thank those people who gave their time and their love, not their lives, and help us with the realization of this book. Finally, I want to express my gratitude to our creator for the inspiration and beauty that gave this book life. The Toltec. The Mastery of Love. I think this is like a forward or something right here. Let's see. The Toltec. Thousands of years ago, the Toltec were known throughout southern Mexico as women and men of knowledge. Anthropologists, did I say that right? Anthropologists have spoken of the Toltec as a nation or race, but in fact, the Toltec were scientists and artists who formed a society to explore and conserve the spiritual knowledge and practices of the ancient ones. They came together as masters, Nigels, and students at Teotihuacan, the ancient city of pyramids outside of Mexico City, known as the place where man becomes God. Whoa, that's cool. Over the millennia, the Nigels were forced to conceal the ancestral wisdom and maintain its existence in obscurity. European conquests, coupled with rampant misuse of personal power by a few of the apprentices, made it necessary to shield the knowledge from those who were not prepared to use it wisely, or who might intentionally misuse it for personal gain. Oh no. Fortunately, the esoteric Toltec knowledge was embodied and passed on through generations by different lineages of Nigels. Although it remained veiled in secrecy for hundreds of years, ancient prophecies foretold the coming of age when it would be necessary to return the wisdom to the people. Now Don Miguel Ruiz, a Nigel from the Eagle Knight lineage, has been guided to share with us the powerful teachings of the Toltec. Toltec knowledge arises from the same essential unity of truth as all the sacred esoteric traditions found around the world. Though it is not a religion, it honors all the spiritual masters who have taught on the earth. While it does embrace spirit, it is most accurately described as a way of life, distinguished by the ready accessibility of happiness and love. Nice. A Toltec is an artist of love, an artist of the spirit, someone who is creating every moment, every second, the most beautiful art, the art of dreaming. Life is nothing but a dream, and if we are artists, then we can create our life with love, and our dream becomes a masterpiece of art. Introduction. The Master. Once upon a time, a master was talking to a crowd of people, and his message was so wonderful that everyone felt touched by his words of love. In the crowd, there was a man who had listened to every word the master said. This man was very humble, and he had a great heart. He was so touched by the master's words that he felt the need to invite the master to his home. When the master finished speaking, the man walked through the crowd, looked into the eyes of the master, and told him, "I know you are busy and everyone wants your attention. I know you hardly have time to listen to my words, but my heart is so open and I feel so much love for you that I have the need to invite you to my home. I want to prepare the meal for you, the best meal. I don't expect you will accept, but I just had to let you know." The master looked into the man's eyes, and with the most beautiful smile, he said, "Prepare everything. I will be there." Then the master walked away. At these words, the joy in the man's heart was strong. He could hardly wait to serve the master and to express his love for him. This would be the most important day of his life. The master was going to be with him. He brought the best food and wine and found the most beautiful clothes to offer as a gift to the master. Then he ran home to prepare everything to receive the master. He cleaned his entire house, prepared the most wonderful meal, and made the table look beautiful. His heart was full of joy because the master would soon be there. The man was waiting anxiously when someone knocked at the door. Eagerly he opened the door, but instead of the master, he found an old woman. She looked into his eyes and said, "I'm starving. Can you give me a piece of bread?" The man was a little disappointed, but because it was not the master, he looked at the woman and said, "Please, come into my house." He sat here in the place he had prepared for the master. He sat her in the place he had prepared for the master and gave her the food he had made for the master. But he was anxious and could hardly wait for her to finish eating. The old woman was touched by the generosity of the man. She thanked him and left. The man had barely finished preparing the table for the master again when someone knocked at the door. This time, it was another stranger who had traveled across the desert. The stranger looked into the man's face and said, "I'm thirsty. Can you give me something to drink?" The man was a little disappointed again because it was not the master. He invited the stranger into his home and sat him in the place he had prepared for the master. He served the wine he had intended to give the master. When the stranger left, the man again prepared everything for the master. Someone knocked at the door again. When the man opened the door, there stood a child. The child looked up at the man and said, "I'm freezing. Can you give me a blanket to cover my body?" The man was a little disappointed because it was not the master, but he looked into the eyes of the child and felt love in his heart. Quickly he gathered the clothes he had intended to give the master, and he covered the child with the clothes. The child thanked him and left. The man prepared everything again for the master, and then he waited until it was very late. When he realized the master was not coming, he was disappointed, but right away he forgave the master. He said to himself, "I knew it would not
I could not expect the master to come to this humble home. Although he said he would come, something more important must have taken him elsewhere. The master did not come, but at least he told me he would, and that is enough for my heart to be happy. Slowly he put the food away, he put the wine away, and he went to bed. That night he dreamed the master came to his home. The man was happy to see him, but he did not know that he was dreaming. Master, you come. You kept your word. The master replied, Yes, I am here. But I was here before. I was hungry, and you fulfilled my need for food. I was thirsty, and you gave me the wine. I was cold, and you covered me with clothes. Whatever you do for others, you do for me. The man woke up, and his heart was filled with happiness, because he understood what the master had taught him. The master loved him so much that he had sent 3 people to give him the greatest lesson. The master lives within everyone. When you give food to the one who is starving, when you give water to the one who is thirsty, when you cover the one who is cold, you give your love to the master. Nice.
Chapter number 1, The Wounded Mind.
I need another sip here. Perhaps you have never thought about it, but on one level or another, all of us are masters. We are masters because we have the power to create and to rule our own lives. Just as societies and religions around the world create incredible mythologies, we create our own. Our personal mythology is populated by heroes and villains. Angels and demons, kings and commoners. We create an entire population in our minds, including multiple personalities for ourselves. Then we master the image we are going to use in certain circumstances. We become artists of preparing and projecting our images, and we master whatever we believe we are. When we meet other people, we classify them right away and assign them a role in our lives. We create an image for others according to what we believe they are, and we do the same thing with everyone and everything around us. You have the power to create. Your power is so strong that whatever you believe comes true. You create yourself, whatever you believe you are. You are the way you are because that is what you believe you are. You believe about yourself. Your whole reality, everything you believe, is your creation. You have the same power as any other human in the world. The main difference between you and someone else is how you apply your power. What you create with your power. You may be similar to others in many ways, but no one in the world lives their life the way you do. You have practiced all of your life to be what you are, and you do it so well that you master what you believe you are. You master your own personality, your own beliefs. You master every action, every reaction. You practice for years and years, and you achieve the level of mastery to be what you believe you are. Whew. Once we can see that all of us are masters, we can see what kind of mastery we have. When we are children and we have a problem with someone, we get angry. For whatever reason, that anger pushes the problem away. Then we practice and practice until we become masters of anger. In the same way, we become masters of jealousy, masters of sadness, masters of self-rejection. All of our drama and suffering is by practice. We make an agreement with ourselves, and we practice that agreement until it becomes a whole mastery. The way we think, the way we feel, and the way we act becomes so routine that we no longer need to put our attention on what we are doing. It is just by action-reaction that we behave a certain way. To become masters of love, we have to practice love. The art of relationship is also a whole mastery, and the only way to reach mastery is with practice. To master a relationship is therefore about action. It is not about concepts or attaining knowledge. It is about action. Of course, to have action, we need to have some knowledge, or at least a little more awareness, the way humans operate. A little more awareness of the way humans operate. I want you to imagine that you live on a planet where everyone has a skin disease. Ew. For 2,000 or 3,000 years, the people on your planet have suffered the same disease. Jeez, that would suck. Their entire bodies are covered by wounds that are infected, and those wounds really hurt when you touch them. Of course, they believe this is a normal physiology of the skin. Even the medical books describe this disease as a normal condition. When the people are born, their skin is healthy, but around 3 or 4 years of age, the wounds start to appear. By the time they are teenagers, there are wounds all over the body. Can you imagine how these people are going to treat each other? In order to relate with one another, they have to protect their wounds. They hardly ever touched each other's skin because it is too painful. If by accident you touch someone's skin, it is so painful that right away she gets angry and touches your skin just to get even. Still, the instinct is to love. It's so strong that you pay a high price to have relationships with each other. Well, imagine that a miracle occurs one day. You awake and your skin is completely healed. There are no wounds anymore, and it doesn't hurt to be touched. Healthy skin you can touch feels wonderful because the skin is made for perception. Can you imagine yourself with healthy skin in the world where everyone has a skin disease? You cannot touch others because it hurts them, and no one touches you because they make the assumption that it will hurt you. If you can imagine this, perhaps you can understand that someone from another planet who came to visit us would have a similar experience with humans. But it isn't our skin that is full of wounds that the visitor would discover, is that the human mind is sick with a disease called fear. Just like the description of the infected skin, the emotional body is full of wounds, and these wounds are infected with emotional poison. The manifestation of this disease of fear is anger, hate, sadness, envy, and hypocrisy. The result of the disease is all the emotions that make humans suffer. All humans are mentally sick with the same disease. We can even say that this world is a mental hospital. But this mental disease has been in the world for thousands of years. And the medical books, the psychiatric books, and the physiology books describe the disease as normal. Psychology, sorry. They'd consider it normal, but I can tell you it is not normal. When the fear becomes too great, the reasoning mind starts to fail and can no longer take all those wounds with all the poison. In the psychology books, we call this a mental illness. We call it schizophrenia, paranoia, psychosis. But these diseases are created when the reasoning mind is so frightened and the wound is so painful that it becomes better to break contact with the outside world. Humans live in a continuous fear of being hurt. and this creates a big drama wherever we go. The way humans relate to each other is so emotionally painful that for no apparent reason we get angry, jealous, envious, sad. To even say I love you can be frightening. But even if it's painful and fearful to have an emotional interaction, still we keep going. We enter into a relationship, we get married, and we have children. In order to protect our emotional wounds, and because of our fear of being hurt, humans create something very sophisticated in the mind, a big denial system. In that denial system, we become the perfect liars. We lie so perfectly that we lie to ourselves and even believe our own lies. We don't notice we are lying, and sometimes, even when we don't know we are lying, we justify the lie and excuse the lie to protect ourselves from the pain of wounds. The denial system is like a wall of fog in front of our eyes that blinds us from seeing the truth. We wear a social mask because it's too painful to see ourselves or to let others see us as we really are. And the denial system lets us pretend that everyone believes what we want them to believe about us. We put up these barriers for protection to keep other people away, but those barriers also keep us inside, restricting our freedom. Humans cover themselves and protect themselves, and when someone says, "You are pushing my buttons," it is not exactly true. What is true is that you are touching the wound in his mind, and he reacts because it hurts. When you are aware that everyone around you has emotional wounds with emotional poison, you can easily understand the relationship of humans in what the Toltec call the dream of hell. From the Toltec perspective, everything we believe about ourselves and everything we know about our world is a dream. If you look at any religious description of hell, it is the same as human society, the way we dream. Hell is a place of suffering, a place of fear, a place of war and violence, a place of judgment and no justice, a place of punishment that never ends. There are humans versus humans in a jungle of predators, humans full of judgment, full of blame, full of guilt, full of emotional poison. Envy, anger, hate, sadness, suffering. We create all these little demons in our mind because we have learned to dream hell in our own lives. Each of us creates a personal dream for our own self. But the humans before us created a big outside dream. The outside dream, or the dream of the planet, is the collective dream of billions of dreamers. I like that. I'm going to just rewind to the beginning of this. I like this. Each of us creates a personal dream for our own self. But the humans before us created a big outside dream, the dream of human society. The outside dream, or the dream of the planet, is the collective dream of billions of dreamers. The big dream includes all the rules of society, its laws, its religions, its different cultures, and ways to be. All of this information stored inside of our minds is like 1,000 voices talking to us at once. The Toltecs call this the mitote. The real us is pure love. We are life. The real us has nothing to do with the dream. But the mitote keeps us from seeing what we really are. When you see the dream from this perspective, and if you have the awareness of what you are, you see the nonsense behaviors of humans, and it becomes amusing. What for everyone else is a big drama, for you becomes a comedy. You can see humans suffering over something that is not important, that is not even real. But we have no choice. We are born in this society. We grow up in this society, and we learn to be like everyone else, playing nonsense all the time, competing with mere nonsense. Imagine that you could visit a planet where everyone has a different kind of emotional mind. The way they relate to each other is always in happiness, always in love, always in peace. Now imagine that one day you awake on this planet, and you no longer have wounds in your emotional body. You are no longer afraid to be who you are. Whatever someone says about you, whatever they do, you don't take it personally, and it doesn't hurt anymore. You no longer need to protect yourself. You are not afraid to love, to share, to open your heart. But no one else is like you. How can you relate with people who are emotionally wounded and sick with fear? Just gonna reread this part right here. Imagine that you could visit a planet where everyone had a different kind of emotional body or emotional mind. Imagine that you could visit a planet where everyone has a different kind of emotional mind. The way they relate to each other is always in happiness, always in love, always in peace. Now imagine that one day you awake on this planet and you no longer have wounds in your emotional body. You are no longer afraid to be who you are. Whatever someone else says about you, whatever they do, you don't take it personally, and it doesn't hurt anymore. You no longer need to protect yourself. You are not afraid to love, to share, to open your heart, but no one else is like you. How can you relate with people who are emotionally wounded and sick with fear? When a human is born, the emotional mind, the emotional body is completely healthy. Maybe around 3 or 4 years of age, the first wounds in the emotional body start to appear and get infected with emotional poison. But if you observe children who are 2 or 3 years old, if you see how they behave, they are playing all the time. You see them laughing all the time. Their imagination is so powerful. And the way they dream is an adventure of exploration. When something is wrong, they react and defend themselves. But then they just let go and turn their attention to the moment again, to play again, to explore and have fun again. They are living in the moment. They are not ashamed of the past. They are not worried about the future. Little children express what they feel and are not afraid to love. The happiest moments in our lives are when we are playing just like children, when we are singing and dancing, when we are exploring and creating just for fun. It is wonderful when we behave like a child, because this is the normal human mind, the normal human tendency. As children, we are innocent, and it is natural for us to express love. But what happens to us? What has happened to the whole world? What has happened is that when we are children, the adults already have that mental disease, and they are highly contagious. How do they pass the disease to us? They hook our attention, and they teach us to be like them. That is how we pass our disease to our children. And that is how our parents, our teachers, our older siblings, the whole society as sick people infected us with that disease. They hooked our attention and put information into our minds through repetition. This is the way we learn. This is the way we program a human mind. The problem is the program, the information we have stored in our minds. By hooking the attention, we teach children a language, how to read, how to behave, how to dream. We domesticate humans the same way we domesticate a dog or any other animal, with punishment and reward. This is perfectly normal. What we call education is nothing but domestication of the human being. I always felt that way. We are afraid to be punished, but later we are also afraid of not getting the reward, of not being good enough for mom or dad, siblings or teacher. The need to be accepted is born. Before that, we don't care whether we are accepted or not. People's opinions are not important. They're not important because we just want to play and we live in the present. Right? The fear of not getting the reward becomes the fear of rejection. The fear of not being good enough for someone else is what makes us try to change, what makes us create an image. Then we try to protect that image according to what they want us to be, just to be accepted, just to have the reward. We learn to pretend to be what we are not, and we practice trying to become someone else, just to be good enough for mom, for dad, for the teacher, for our religions, for whatever. We practice and we master how to be what we are not. Soon we forget who we really are, and we start to live our images. We create not just one image, but many different images according to the different groups of people we associate with. We create an image at home, an image at school, and when we grow up, we create even more images. This is also true for a simple relationship between a man and a woman. The woman has an outer image that she tries to project to others, but when she is alone, she has another image of herself. The man also has an outer image and an inner image, but by the time they are adults, the inner image and outer image are so different that they hardly match anymore. In the relationship between a man and a woman, there are 4 images at least. How can they really know each other? They don't. They can only try to understand the image, but there are more images to consider. When a man meets a woman, he makes an image of her from his point of view, and the woman makes an image of the man from her point of view. Then he tries to make her fit the image he makes for her, and she tries to make him fit the image she makes for him. Now there are 6 images between them. Of course, they are lying to each other, even if they don't know they are lying. Their relationship is based on fear. It is based on lies. It is not based on truth, because they cannot see through all that fog. In the period when we are little children, there is no conflict with the images we pretend to be. Our images are not really challenged until we begin to interact with the outside world and no longer have our parents' protection. This is why being a teenager is particularly difficult. Even if we are prepared to support and defend our images, as soon as we try to project our images to the outside world, the world fights back. The outside world starts proving to us, not just privately, but publicly, that we are not what we pretend to be. Let's take the example of a teenage boy who pretends to be very intelligent. He goes to a debate at school, and in that debate, someone who is more intelligent and more prepared wins the debate and makes him look ridiculous in front of everyone. He will try to explain and excuse and justify his image in front of his peers. He will be so kind to everyone and will try to save his image in front of them, but he knows he is lying. Of course, he tries his best not to break in front of his peers, but as soon as he is alone and sees himself in a mirror, he goes and breaks the mirror. He hates himself. He feels that he is so stupid, that he is the worst. There's a big discrepancy between the inner image and the image he tries to project to the outside world. The bigger this discrepancy, the more difficult the adaptation to the society dream, and the less love he will have for himself. Between the image he pretends to be and the inner image, when he is alone, are lies and more lies. Both images are completely out of touch with reality. They're false. But he doesn't see that. Maybe someone else can see that, but he is completely blind. His denial system tries to protect the wounds, but the wounds are real, and he is hurting because he is trying so hard to defend an image. When we are children, we learn that everyone's opinions are important, and we rule our lives according to those opinions. A simple opinion from someone can put us deeper into hell. An opinion that is not even true. You look ugly. You are wrong. You are stupid. Opinions have a lot of power over the nonsense behaviors of people who live in hell. That is why we need to hear that we are good, that we are doing well, that we are beautiful. How do I look? How is what I said? How am I doing? We need to hear the opinions of others because we are domesticated and we can be manipulated by those opinions. That is why we seek recognition from other people. We need emotional support from each other, from other people. We need to be accepted by the outside dream via other people. That is why teenagers drink alcohol, take drugs, or start smoking. It is just to be accepted by others who have all those opinions. It is just to be considered cool. So many humans are suffering because of all the false images we try to project. Humans pretend to be something very important, but at the same time, we believe we are nothing. We work so hard to be someone in that society dream, to be recognized and approved by others. We try so hard to be important, to be a winner, to be powerful, to be rich, to be famous, to express our personal dream, and to impose our dream onto other people around us. Why? Because humans believe the dream is real, and we take it very seriously. That's a good first chapter. Shall we move on to the next one? The loss of innocence. Humans, by nature, are very sensitive beings. We are so emotional because we perceive everything with the emotional body. The emotional body is like a radio that can be turned to perceive certain frequencies or to react to certain frequencies. The normal frequency of humans before domestication is to explore and to enjoy life. We are turned to love. As children, we don't have any definition of love as an abstract concept. We just live love. It's the way we are. It's just the way we are. The emotional body has a component like an alarm system to let us know when something is wrong. It is the same with the physical body. It has an alarm system to let us know something is wrong with our body. We call this pain. When we feel pain, it is because there is something wrong with the body that has to look at and fix. The alarm system for the emotional body is fear. When we feel fear, it's because there is something wrong. Perhaps we are in danger of losing our life. The emotional body perceives emotions, but not through the eyes. We perceive emotions through our emotional body. Children just feel emotions, and their reasoning mind doesn't interpret any or question any of them. This is why children accept certain people and reject other people. When they don't feel confident around someone, they reject that person because they can feel the emotions that person is projecting. Children can easily perceive when someone is angry, and their alarm system generates a little fear that says, stay away, and they follow their instincts. They stay away. We learn to be emotional according to the emotional energy in our home and our personal reaction to that energy. That is why every brother and sister will react differently according to how they learn to defend themselves and adapt to different circumstances. When our parents are consistently fighting, when there is disharmony, disrespect, and lies, we learn the emotional way of being like them, even if they tell us not to be that way and not to lie. The emotional energy of our parents, of our entire family, will make us perceive the world in a similar way. The emotional energy that lives in our home is going to tune our emotional body to that frequency. The emotional body starts to change its tune, and it is no longer the normal tune of the human being. We play the game of the adults. We play the game of the outside dream, and we lose. We lose our innocence. We lose our freedom. We lose our happiness. And we lose our tendency to love. We are forced to change. And we start perceiving another world, another reality. The reality of injustice, the reality of emotional pain, the reality of emotional poison. Become welcome to hell. The hell that humans create, which is the dream of the planet. We are welcomed into that hell, but we don't invent it personally. It was here before we were born. You can see how real love and freedom are destroyed by looking at children. Imagine a child 2 or 3 years old running and having fun in the park. Mom is there watching the little guy, and she's afraid he might fall and hurt himself. At a certain point, she wants to stop him, and the child thinks Mom is playing with him. So he tries to run faster from her. Cars are passing in the street nearby, which makes Mom even more afraid, and finally she catches him. The child is expecting her to play, but she spanks him. Boom. It's a shock. The child's happiness was the expression of love coming out of him, and he does not understand why she is acting this way. This is a shock that stops love little by little over time. The child does not understand words, but even so, he can question why. Running and playing is an expression of love, but it's no longer safe because your parents punish you when you express your love. They send you to your room, and you cannot do what you want to do. They tell you that you're being a bad boy or a bad girl, and that puts you down. That means punishment. In that system of reward and punishment, there is a sense of justice and injustice. What is fair and what is not fair? The sense of injustice is like a knife that opens an emotional wound in the mind. Then, according to our reaction to the injustice, the wound may get infected with emotional poison. Why do some wounds get infected? Let's look at another example. Imagine that you are 2 or 3 years old. You're happy. You're playing. You're exploring. You aren't conscious of what is good, what is bad, what is right, what is wrong, what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing, because you are not getting domesticated. You're playing in the living room with whatever is around you. You don't have any bad intentions. You don't try to hurt anything, but you are playing with your daddy's guitar. For you, it's just a toy. You don't try to hurt your daddy at all. But your father is having one of those days when he doesn't feel right. He has problems in his business, and he's going into the living room and finds you playing with his things. He gets mad right away, and he grabs you and spanks you. This is injustice from your point of view. Your father has come. Father just comes, and with anger, he hurts you. This was someone you trusted completely because he's your daddy. Someone who usually protects you and allows you to play and allows you to be you. Now there is something that doesn't quite fit. That sense of injustice is like a pain in your heart. You feel sensitive. It hurts and makes you cry. But you cry not just because he spanks you. It's not the physical aggression that hurts you. It's the emotional aggression you feel. Not fair. You didn't do anything. That sense of injustice opens a wound in you, in your mind. Your emotional body is wounded, and in that moment you lose a little part of your innocence. You learn that you cannot always trust your father, even if your mind doesn't know. Because your mind doesn't analyze. It still understands. I cannot trust. Your emotional body tells you there is something you cannot trust, and that something can be repeated. Your reaction might be fear. Your reaction might be anger or being shy or just crying. But that reaction is already emotional poison, because the normal reaction before domestication is that your daddy spanks you and you want to hit him back. You hit him back, or just intend to put your hand up, and that makes your father even madder at you. The reaction of your father for just putting your hand up against him creates a worse punishment. Now you know he will destroy you. Now you are afraid of him, and you no longer defend yourself because you know it will only make things worse. Domestication. You still don't understand why, but you know your father can even kill you. This opens a fierce wound in your mind. Before this, your mind was completely healthy. You were completely innocent. After this, the reasoning mind tries to do something with the experience. You learn to react in a certain way, your personal way. You keep that emotion with you, and it changes your way of life. This experience will repeat itself more often now. The injustice will come from mom and dad, from brothers and sisters, from aunts and uncles, from the school, from society, from everyone. With each fear, you learn to defend yourself. But not the way you did before domestication, when you would defend yourself and just keep playing. Now there is something inside the wound at first. It's not a big problem. Emotional poison. The emotional poison accumulates, and the mind begins to play with that poison. Now we start to worry a little about the future because we have the memory of the poison, and we don't want that to happen again. We also have memories of being accepted. We remember mom and dad being good to us and living in harmony. We want the harmony, but we don't know how to create it. And because we are inside the bubble of our own perception, whatever happens around us now seems as if it is because of us. We believe mom and dad fight because of us, even if it doesn't have anything to do with us. Little by little, we lose our innocence. We start to feel resentment. Then we no longer forgive. Over time, these incidents and interactions let us know it's not safe to be who we really are. Of course, this will vary in intensity with each human according to his intelligence and his education. It will depend on many things. If you're lucky, the domestication is not that strong. But if you're not so lucky, the domestication can be so strong and the wounds so deep that you can't even be afraid to speak. The result is, oh, I'm shy. Shyness is the fear of expressing yourself. You may believe you don't know how to dance or how to sing, but this is just representation of the normal human instinct to express love. Humans use fear to domesticate humans, and our fear increases with each experience of injustice. The sense of injustice is the knife that opens a wound in our emotional body. Emotional poison is created by our reaction to what we consider injustice. Some wounds will heal, others will become infected with more and more poison. Once we are full of emotional poison, we have the need to release it, and we practice releasing the poison by sending it to someone else. Whoa. How do we do this? By hooking that person's attention. Wow. Social media. Let's take an example of an ordinary couple. For whatever reason, the wife is mad. She has a lot of emotional poison from an injustice that comes from her husband. The husband is not home, but she remembers that injustice and the poison is growing inside. When the husband comes home, the first thing she wants to do is hook his attention, because once she hooks his attention, all the poison can go to her husband, and she can feel the relief. As soon as she tells him how bad he is, how stupid or how unfair he is, that poison she has inside of her is transferred to the husband. She keeps talking and talking until she gets his attention. The husband finally reacts and gets mad, and she feels better. But now the poison is going through him, and he has to get even. He has to hook his attention to her and release the poison. But it's not just her poison. It's her poison plus his. If you look at this interaction, you will see that they are touching each other's wounds and playing ping pong with emotional poison. The poison keeps growing and growing until someday one of them is going to explode. This is often how humans relate with each other. By hooking the attention, the energy goes from one person to another person. The attention is something very powerful in the human mind. Everyone around the world is hunting the attention of others all the time. When we capture the attention, we create channels of communication. The dream is transferred, power is transferred, but emotional poison is transferred also. Usually we release the poison with the person we think is responsible for the injustice. But if that person is so powerful that we cannot send it to him, we don't care who we send it to. We send it to the little ones who have no defense against us. And that is how abusive relationships are formed. The people of power abuse the people who have less power because they need to release their emotional poison. We have the need to release the poison, and sometimes we don't want justice. We just want to we want peace. That is why humans are hunting power all the time, because the more powerful we are, the easier it is to release the poison to the ones who cannot defend themselves. Jeez. Wow. Of course, we're talking about relationships in hell. That's where we are. We're talking about the mental disease that exists on the planet. There is no one to blame for this disease. It is not good or bad or right or wrong. It is simply the normal pathology of this disease. No one is guilty for being abusive, just as people on that imaginary planet are not guilty because their skin is sick. You're not guilty because you have wounds infected with poison. When you're physically sick or injured, you don't blame yourself or feel guilty. Then why feel bad or feel guilty because your emotional body is sick? What is important is to have the awareness that we have this problem. If we have the awareness, we have the opportunity to heal our emotional body, our emotional mind, gobble gobble, and stop the suffering. Without the awareness, there is nothing we can do. The only thing we can do is to keep suffering from the interaction with other humans. But not just with other humans, the interaction with our own self, because we also touch our own wounds just to be punished. Man, we touch our own wounds. Ugh. In our mind, we create that part of us that is always judging. The judge is judging everything we do, everything we don't do, everything we feel, everything we don't feel. We're judging ourselves all the time, and we're judging everyone else all the time, based on what we believe and based on the sense of justice and injustice. Of course, we find ourselves guilty, and we need to be punished. The other part of our mind is that receives the judgment and has the need to be punished, is the victim. That part of us says, poor me, I'm not good enough, I'm not strong enough, I'm not intelligent enough, why should I try? When you were a child, you could not choose what to believe and what not to believe. The judge and the victim are based on all those false beliefs you didn't choose. When that information went into your mind and you were innocent, you believed everything. The belief system was put inside of you, like a program by the outside dream. Let me reread that. You believed everything. The belief system was put inside of you like a program by the outside dream. The Toltecs call this program the parasite. Oh, shit. We're infected with parasites. The human mind is sick as a parasite that steals its vital energy and robs it of joy. The parasite is all those beliefs that make you suffer. Those beliefs are so strong that years later, when you learn new concepts and try to make your own decisions, you find that those beliefs still control your life. Sometimes the little child inside of you comes out, the real you that stays at the edge of 2 or 3 years old. You're living in the moment and having fun, but there is something pulling you back. Something inside feels unworthy of having too much fun. An inner voice tells you that your happiness is too good to be true. It isn't right to be too happy. All the guilt, all the blame, all the emotional poison in your emotional body keeps pulling you back into the world of drama. The parasite spreads like a disease from our grandparents to our parents, to ourselves, and then we give it to our grandchildren, or children. We put all those programs inside our children the same way we train a dog. Humans are domesticated animals, and this domestication leads us into the dream of hell, where we live in fear. The food for the parasite is the emotions that come from fear. Before we get the parasite, we enjoy life. We play. We're happy, like little children. But after all that garbage is put into our minds, we're no longer happy. We learn to be right and to make everyone else wrong. The need to be right is the result of trying to protect the image we want to protect to the outside. We have to impose our way of thinking, not just onto other humans, but even upon ourselves. With awareness, we can easily understand why relationships don't work. With our parents, with our children, with our friends, with our partner, and even with ourselves. Why doesn't the relationship with ourselves work? Because we are wounded and we have all that emotional poison that we can hardly handle. We're full of poison because we grew up with an image of perfection that is not true, which doesn't exist. And in our minds, it isn't fair. We have seen how we create that image of perfection to please other people. Even though they create their own dream that has nothing to do with us. We try to please mom and dad. We try to please our teacher, our minister, our religion, our God. But the truth is that from their point of view, we are never going to be perfect. That image of perfection tells us how we should be in order to acknowledge that we are good, in order to accept ourselves. But guess what? This is the biggest lie we believe about ourselves, because we are never going to be perfect. And there is no way that we can forgive ourselves for not being perfect. That image of perfection changes the way we dream. We learn to deny ourselves and reject ourselves. We are never good enough, or right enough, or clean enough, or healthy enough, according to all those beliefs we have. There is always something the judge can never accept or forgive. That is why we reject our own humanity. That is why we never deserve to be happy. That is why we are searching for someone to abuse us, someone who will punish us. We have a very high level of self-abuse because of that image of perfection. When we reject ourselves and judge ourselves and find ourselves guilty and punish ourselves so much, it looks like there is no love. It looks like there is only punishment, only suffering, only judgment in this world. Hell has many different levels. Some people are very deep in hell, and other people are very hardly in hell. Very hardly. And other people are hardly in hell. But still, they're in hell. There are very abusive relationships in hell, and relationships with hardly any abuse. You are no longer a child, and if you have an abusive relationship, it is because you accept that abuse, because you believe you deserve it. You have a limit to the amount of abuse you will accept, but no one in the world abuses you more than you abuse yourself. The limit of your self-abuse is the limit you will tolerate from other people. If someone abuses you more than you abuse yourself, you walk away, you run, you escape. But if someone abuses you a little less than you abuse yourself, perhaps you stay longer. You still deserve that abuse. Usually in a normal relationship in hell, it's about payment for an injustice. It's about getting even.
I abuse you the way you need to be abused, and you abuse me the way I need to be abused. We have a good equilibrium. It works, of course. Energy attracts the same kind of energy, the same vibration. If someone comes to you and says, "Oh, I am so absurd," and you ask, "Well, why do you stay there?" "Oh, I am so abused." Absurd. I'm so absurd. "Oh, I'm so abused." And you ask, "Well, why do you stay there?" He doesn't even know why. The truth is, he needs that abuse, because that is why the way he punishes himself. Jeez. Life brings to you exactly what you need. There is perfect justice in hell. There is nothing to blame. We can even say that our suffering is a gift. If you just open your eyes and see what is around you, it's exactly what you need to clean your poison, to heal your wounds, to accept yourself, and to get out of hell. Let me just read that last little bit. Life brings to you exactly what you need. There is perfect justice in hell. There is nothing to blame. We can even say that our suffering is a gift. If you just open your eyes and see what is around you, it is exactly what you need to clean your poison, to heal your wounds, to accept yourself, and to get out of hell. That's a good chapter. Should we read another? This one's not as long. Oh, it's long. What is that, 10 pages? I can do that. All right, one more chapter. The Man Who Didn't Believe in Love. I want to tell you a very old story about the man who didn't believe in love. This was an ordinary man just like you and me. But what made this man special was his way of thinking. He thought love doesn't exist. Of course, he had a lot of experience trying to find love, and he had observed the people around him. Much of his life, he had been spent searching for love, only to find that love didn't exist. Wherever this man went, he used to tell people that love is nothing but an invention of the poets, an invention of religions, just to manipulate the weak minds of humans, to have control over humans, to make them believe. He said that love is not real, and that's why no human could ever find love, even though he might look for it. This man was highly intelligent, and he was very convincing. He read a lot of books. He went to the best universities. He became a respectful scholar. He could stand in any public place in front of any kind of people, and his logic was very strong. What he said was that love is just like a drug. It makes you very high, but it creates a strong need. You can become highly addicted to love. But what happens when you don't receive your daily dose of love? Just like a drug, you need your everyday doses. He used to say that the most relationships between lovers are just like a relationship between a drug addict and the ones who provide the drugs. The one who has the biggest need is like the drug addict. The one who has a little need is like the provider. The one who has the little need is the one who controls the whole relationship. You can see this dynamic so clearly because usually in every relationship there is one who loves the most and the other who doesn't love, who only takes advantage of the one who gives his or her heart. Oh man. You can see the way they manipulate each other, their actions and their reactions. And they are just like the provider and the drug addict. The drug addict, the one who has the biggest need, lives in constant fear that perhaps he will not be able to get the next dosage of love or the drug. The drug addict thinks, what am I going to do? What am I going to do if she leaves me? That fear makes the drug addict very possessive. That's mine. The addict becomes jealous and demanding because the fear of not having the next dosage. The provider can control and manipulate the one who needs the drug by
giving more doses, fewer doses, or no doses at all. The one who has the biggest need completely surrenders and will do whatever he can to avoid being abandoned. The man went on explaining to everyone why love doesn't exist. What humans call love is nothing more but a fear relationship based on control. Where is the respect? Where is the love they claim to have? There is no love. Young couples in front of the representation of God, in front of their families and friends, make a lot of promises to each other. To live together forever, to love and respect each other, to be there for each other through good times and the bad. They promise to love and honor each other and make promises, more promises. What is amazing is that they really believe these promises. But after the marriage, 1 week later, a month later, a few months later, you can see that none of these promises are kept. What you find is a war of control to see who will manipulate whom, who will be the provider and who will have the addiction. You find that a few months later, the respect they swear to have for each other is gone. You can see the resentment, the emotional poison, how they hurt each other little by little. And it grows until they don't know when the love stops. They stay together because they are afraid to be alone, afraid the opinions and judgments of others, and also afraid of their own judgments and opinions. But where is the love? He used to claim that he saw many old couples that had lived together 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, and they were so proud to have lived together all those years. But when they talked about their relationship, what they said was, "We survived the matrimony." That means one of them surrendered to the other, or at a certain time, she gave up and decided to endure the suffering. The one with the strongest will and less need won the war. Wow. But where is the flame they call love? They treat each other like possessions. She is mine, he is mine. The man went on and on about all the reasons why he believed love doesn't exist. And he told others, "I have done all that already. I will no longer allow anyone to manipulate my mind and control my life in the name of love." He argued were quite logical, and he convinced many people by all his words, love doesn't exist. Then one day, this man was walking in a park, and there on a bench was a beautiful lady who was crying. When he saw her crying, he felt curiosity. Sitting beside her, he asked if he could help her. He asked why she was crying. You could imagine his surprise when she told him she was crying because love doesn't exist either. He said, "This is amazing. A woman who believes that love doesn't exist." Of course, he wanted to know more about her. What do you say? This is funny. "What do you say, that love doesn't exist?" he asked. "Well, it's a long story," she replied. "I married when I was very young with all the love, all these illusions, full of hope that I would share my life with a man. We swore to each other. We swore to each other our loyalty, respect, and honor. And we created a family. But soon everything changed. I was the devoted wife who took care of the children and the home. My husband continued to develop his career and his success and image outside of home, and was more important to him than our family. It was more. He lost respect for me, and I lost respect for him. We hurt each other, and at a certain point I discovered that I didn't love him, and he didn't love me either. But the children needed a father, and that was my excuse to stay and do whatever I could to support him. Now the children are grown, and they have left. I no longer have any excuse to stay with him. There's no respect, there's no kindness. I know that even if I find someone else, it's going to be the same. Because love doesn't exist. There's no sense to look around for something that doesn't exist. That is why I'm crying. Understanding her very well, he embraced her and said, "You're right. Love doesn't exist. We look for love, we open our hearts, and we become vulnerable just to find our selfishness. That hurts us even if we don't think we will be hurt. It doesn't matter how many relationships we have, the same thing happens again and again. Why even search for love any longer? They were so much alike, and they became best friends ever. It was a wonderful relationship. They respected each other, and they never put each other down. With every step they took together, they were happy. There was no envy or jealousy. There was no control. There was no possessiveness. The relationship kept growing and growing. They loved to be together because when they were together, they had a lot of fun. When they were not together, they missed each other. One day, when the man was out of town, he had the weirdest idea. He was thinking, maybe what I feel for her is love. But this is so different from what I have ever felt before. It's not what the poets say it is. It's not what religion says. Because I'm not responsible for her. I don't take anything from her. I don't have the need for her to take care of me. I don't need to blame her for my difficulties or to take my dramas to her. We have the best time together. We enjoy each other. I respect the way she thinks, the way she feels. She doesn't embarrass me. She doesn't bother me at all. I don't feel jealous when she's with other people. I don't feel envy when she is successful. Perhaps love doesn't exist, but it's not what everyone... Perhaps love does exist, but it's not what everyone thinks that love is. He could hardly wait to go back home and talk to her, to let her know about his weird idea. As soon as he started talking, she said, I know exactly what you're talking about. I had the same idea long ago, but I didn't want to share it with you because I know you don't believe in love. Perhaps love does exist, but it isn't what we thought it was. They decided to become lovers and to live together, and it was amazing. And that thing didn't change. They still respected each other. They were still supportive of each other, and they grew, and the love grew more and more. Even the simplest things made their hearts sing with love because they were so happy. The man's heart was so full with all the love he felt that one night a great miracle happened. He was looking at the stars, and he found the most beautiful one. And his love was so big that the stars started coming down from the sky. And soon, that star was in his hands. When a second miracle happened, and his soul merged with that star, he was intensely happy. And he could hardly wait to go to the woman and put that star in her hands to prove his love for her. As soon as he put the star in her hands, she felt a moment of doubt. This love was overwhelming, and in that moment, the star fell from her hands and broke into 1,000,000 little pieces. Now there is an old man walking around the world swearing that love doesn't exist, and there is a beautiful old woman at home waiting for a man, shedding a tear for a paradise that once she had in her hands. But for one moment of doubt, she let it go. This is the story about the man who didn't believe in love. Who made the mistake? Do you want to guess what went wrong? The mistake was on the man's part in thinking he could give the woman his happiness. The star was his happiness, and his mistake was to put his happiness in her hands. Happiness never comes from outside of us. He was happy. He was happy because of the love coming out of him. He was happy because of the love coming out of her. But as soon as he made her responsible for his happiness, she broke the star because she could not be responsible for his happiness. No matter how much the woman loved him, she could never make him happy because she could never know what he had in his mind. She could never know what his expectations were, because she could not know his dreams. If you take your happiness and put it in someone's hands, sooner or later, she's going to break it. If you give your happiness to someone else, she can always take it away. And then if happiness can only come from inside of you and is the result of your love, you are responsible for your happiness. We can never make anyone responsible for our own happiness, but when we go to the church to get married, the first thing we do is exchange rings. We put our star in each other's hands, expecting that she is going to make you happy. And you're going to make her happy. It doesn't matter how much you love someone, you're never going to be what that person wants you to be. That is the mistake most of us make right from the beginning. We base our happiness on our partner, and it doesn't work that way. We make up all those promises that we cannot keep, and we set ourselves up to fail. We're halfway through. Chapter 4. The track of love, the track of fear. Your whole life is nothing but a dream. You live in a fantasy where everything you know about yourself is only true for yourself. Your truth is not the truth for anyone else, and that includes your own children or your own parents. Just consider what you believe about yourself and what your mother believes about you. She can say that she knows you very well, but she has no idea who you really are. You know that she doesn't. You can believe that you know your mother very well, but you don't have any idea who she is, really. She has all those fantasies in her mind that she never shared with anyone else. You have no idea what's inside her mind. If you look at your own life and try to remember what you did when you were 11 or 12 years old, you will hardly remember more than 5% of your own life. Of course, you will remember the most important things, like your own name, because you repeat that all the time. But sometimes you forget the name of your own children or your friends. That's because your life is made by dreams. Many little dreams that are changing all the time. Dreams have a tendency to dissolve, and that is why we forget so easily. Every human being has a personal dream of life, and that dream is completely different from anyone else's dream. We dream according to all the beliefs that we have, and we modify our dream according to the way we judge, according to the way we are victimized. That is why dreams are never the same for any two people. In a relationship, we can pretend to be the same, to think the same, to feel the same, to dream the same, but there is no way that can happen. There are two dreamers with two dreams. Every dreamer is going to dream his own way. That is why we need to accept the differences that can exist between two dreamers. We need to respect each other's dream. We can have thousands of relationships at the same time, but every relationship is between two persons, and no more than two. I have a relationship with each one of my friends, and it is just between two. I have a relationship with each one of my children, and each relationship is completely different from the others. According to the way the two people dream, they create the direction of the dream we call relationship. Every relationship we have, with mom, with dad, with brothers and sisters, with friends, is unique because we dream a small dream together. Every relationship becomes a living being made by two dreamers. Just as your body is made by cells, your dreams are made by emotions. There are two main sources of those emotions. One is fear and all the emotions that come from fear. The other is love and the emotions that come from love. We experience both emotions, but the only one that predominates in everyday people is fear. We can say that the normal kind of relationship in this world is based 95% on fear and 5% on love. Of course, this will change depending on the people. But even if fear is 60% and love is 40%, still it's based in fear. In order to understand these emotions, we can describe certain characteristics about love and fear that I call the track of love and the track of fear. These two tracks are merely points of reference to see how we are living our life. These divisions are for the logical mind to understand and to try to have some control of the choices we make. Let's look at some of the characteristics of love and fear. Love has no obligations. Fear is full of obligations. In the track of fear, whatever we do is because we have to do it. And we expect other people to do something because they have to do it. We have the obligation, and as soon as we have to, we resist it. The more resistance we have, the more we suffer. Sooner or later, we try to escape our obligations. On the other hand, love has no resistance. Whatever we do is because we want to do it. It becomes a pleasure. It's like a game, and we have fun with it. Love has no expectations. Fear is full of expectations. With fear, we do things because we expect we have to, and we expect that others are going to do the same. That is why fear hurts and love doesn't hurt. We expect something, and if it doesn't happen, we feel hurt. It isn't fair. We blame others for not fulfilling our expectations. When we love, we don't have expectations. We do it because we want to. And if other people do it or not, it's because they want to or not. And it's nothing personal. When we don't expect something to happen, if nothing happens, it's not important. We don't feel hurt because whatever happens is okay. That is why hardly anything hurts us when we are in love. We aren't expecting that our lover will do something. We have no obligations. Love is based on respect. Fear doesn't respect anything, including itself. If I feel sorry for you, it means I don't respect you. You cannot make your own choices. When I have to make the choices for you, at that point, I don't respect you. If I don't respect you, then I try to control you. Most of the time when we tell our children how to live their lives, it's because we don't respect them. We feel sorry for them, and we try to do for them what they should do for themselves. When I don't respect myself, I feel sorry for myself. I feel I'm not good enough to make it in this world. How do you know when you don't respect yourself? When you say, poor me, I'm not strong enough, I'm not intelligent enough, I'm not beautiful enough, I cannot make it. Self-pity comes from disrespect. Love is ruthless. It doesn't feel sorrier for anyone, but it does have compassion. Fear is full of pity. It feels sorry for everyone. You feel sorry for me when you don't respect me, when you don't think I am strong enough to make it. On the other hand, love respects. I love you. I know you can make it. I know you are strong enough, intelligent enough, good enough, that you can make your own choices. I don't have to make your choices for you. You can make it. If you fail, I can give you my hand. I can help you to stand up. I can say, you can do it. Go ahead. That is compassion. But it is not the same as feeling sorry. Compassion comes from respect and from love. Feeling sorry comes from a lack of respect and from fear. Love is completely responsible. Fear avoids responsibility. But this doesn't mean that it's not responsible. Trying to avoid responsibility is one of the biggest mistakes we can make because every action has a consequence. Everything we think, everything we do has a consequence. If we make a choice, we have an outcome or a reaction. If we don't make a choice, we have an outcome or reaction. We're going to experience the consequence of our actions in one way or another. This is why every human is completely responsible for his actions, even if he doesn't want to be. Other people can try to pay for your mistakes, but you will pay for your mistakes anyway. And then you will pay double. When others try to be responsible for you, it only creates a bigger drama. Love is always kind. Fear is always unkind. With fear, we are full of obligations, full of expectations, with no respect, avoiding responsibility, and feeling sorry. How can we feel good when we are suffering from much fear? We feel victimized, and everything we feel angry or sad or jealous or betrayed. We feel victimized by everything, feeling angry or sad or jealous or betrayed. Anger is nothing but fear with a mask. Sadness is fear with a mask. Jealousy is fear with a mask. With all those emotions that come from fear and create suffering, we can only pretend to be kind. We're not kind because we don't feel good. We are not happy. If you are in the track of love, you have no obligations, no expectations. You don't feel sorry for yourself or for your partner. Everything is going well for you, and that is why that smile is always on your face. You're feeling good about yourself. Because you are happy, you're kind. Love is always kind, and that kindness makes you generous and opens all the doors. Love is generous. Fear is selfish. It is only about me. Selfishness closes all the doors. Love is unconditional. Fear is full of conditions. In the track of fear, I love you if you let me control you. If you are good to me, if you fit into the image I make for you. I create an image of the way you should be. And because you are not and never will be the image, I judge you because of that and find you guilty. Many times I even feel ashamed of you because you are not what I want you to be. If you do not fit that image I create, you embarrass me. You annoy me. I have no patience for you at all. I am just pretending kindness. In the track of love, there is no if. In the track of love, there is no if. There are no conditions. I love you for no reason, with no justification. I love you the way you are, and you are free to be the way you are. If I don't like the way you are, then I'd better be with someone who is the way I like her to be. We don't have the right to change anyone else, and no one else has the right to change us. If we are going to change, it's because we want to change, because we don't want to suffer any longer. Most people live their entire lives in the track of fear. They're in a relationship because they feel they have to be. They're in a relationship because they have all those expectations about their partner and themselves. All that drama and suffering is because we are using the channels of communication that existed before we were born. People judge and are victimized. They gossip about each other. They gossip with their friends. They gossip in a bar. They make their family's members hate each other. They accumulate emotional poison. They send it to their children. They look at your father. What he did to me. Don't be like your father. All men are like this. All women are like that. This is what we do with people we love so much. With our children, with our own children, with our own friends, with our own partners. In the track of fear, we have so many conditions, expectations, and obligations that we create a lot of rules just to protect ourselves from against emotional pain. When the truth is that there shouldn't be any rules. The rules affect the quality of the channel of communication between us. Because when we are afraid, we lie. If you have the expectation that I have to be a certain way, then I feel the obligation to be that way. The truth is, I'm not what you want me to be. When I'm honest and I am what I am, you already are hurt and mad and are mad. Then I lie to you because I'm afraid of your judgment. I'm afraid you're going to blame me and find me guilty and punish me. And every time you remember, you punish me again and again and again for the same mistakes. In the track of love, there is justice. If you make a mistake, you pay only once for that mistake. And if you truly love yourself, you learn from that mistake. In the track of fear, there is no justice. You make yourself pay 1,000 times for the same mistake. You make your partner or your friend pay 1,000 times for the same mistake. This creates a sense of injustice and opens many emotional wounds. Then, of course, You set yourself up to fail. Humans have dramas for everything, even for something so simple and so little. We see these dramas in normal relationship in hell because couples are in the track of fear. In every relationship, there are two halves of that relationship. One half is you, and the other half is your son, your daughter, your father, your mother, your friends, your partner. Of those halves, you are only responsible for your half. You're not responsible for the other half. It doesn't matter how close you think you are or how strongly you think you love. There is no way you can be responsible for for what is inside another person's head. You can never know what that person feels, what that person believes, all the assumptions she makes. You don't know anything about that person. That is the truth. But what do? We try to be responsible for the other half, and that is why relationships in hell are based on fear, drama, and the war of control. If we are in war of control, it is because we have no respect. The truth is that we don't love. It is selfishness, not love. It is just to have the little doses that make us feel good. When we have no respect, there is a war of control because each person feels responsible for the other. I have to control you because I don't respect you. I have to be responsible for you because whatever happens to you is going to hurt me, and I want to avoid pain. Then if I see that you are not being responsible, I'm going to knock you all the time to try to make you responsible. But responsible from my personal point of view. It doesn't mean that I'm right. This is what happens when we come from the track of fear. Because there is no respect. I act as though you're not good enough or intelligent enough to see what is good or not good for you. I make the assumption that you are not strong enough to go into the certain situations and take care of yourself. I have to take control and say, let me do it for you. Or don't do that. I try to suppress your half of the relationship and take control of the whole thing. If I take control of our whole relationship, there is your part. It doesn't work. With the other half, we can share, we can enjoy, we can create the most wonderful dream together. But the other half always has its own dream, its own will, and we can never control that dream no matter how hard we try. Then we have a choice. We can create a conflict and a war of control, or we can become playmates and a team player. Playmates and team players play together, but not against each other. If you are playing tennis, you have a partner. You are a team. And you never go against each other. Never. Even if you both played tennis differently. You have the same goal, to have fun together, to play together, to be playmates. If you have a partner who wants to control your game and she says, no, don't play like that, play like this. No, you're doing it wrong. You're not going to have any fun. Eventually, you won't want to play with that partner anymore. Instead of being a team, your partner wants to control how you play. And without the concept of a team, you are always going to have conflict. If you see your partner, your romantic relationship, as a team, everything will start to improve. In a relationship, as in a game, it's not about winning or losing. You're playing because you want to have fun. In the track of love, you're giving more than taking. And of course, you love yourself so much that you don't allow selfish people to take advantage of you. You're not going for revenge, but you are clear in your communication. You can say, I don't like it when you try to take advantage of me, when you disrespect me, when you are unkind to me. I don't need someone to abuse me verbally, emotionally, physically. I don't need to hear you cursing all the time. It's not that I am better than you. It's because I love beauty. I love to laugh. I love to have fun. I love to love. It's not that I am selfish. I just don't need a big victim near me. I like that. It's not, it doesn't mean that I don't love you, but I cannot take responsibility for your dream. If you are in a relationship with me, it will be so hard for your parasite because I will not react to your garbage at all. This is not selflessness. This is self-love. Selfishness, control, and fear will break almost any relationship. Generosity, freedom, and love will create the most beautiful relationship, an ongoing romance. Generosity, freedom, and love will create the most beautiful relationship, an ongoing romance. To master a relationship is all about you. The first step is to become aware, to know that everyone dreams his own dream. Once you know this, you can be responsible for your half of the relationship, which is you. If you know that you are only responsible for half of the relationship, you can easily control your half. It is not up to us to control the other half. If we respect, we know that our partner or friend or son or mother is completely responsible for his or her own half. If we respect the other half, there is always going to be peace in that relationship. There is no war. Next, if you know what is love and what is fear, you become aware of the way you communicate your dream to others. The quality of your communication depends on the choices you make in each moment, whether you tune your emotional body to love or to fear. If you catch yourself in the track of fear, just by having that awareness, you can shift your attention into the track of love. Wait, reread that. If you catch yourself in the track of fear, just by having that awareness, you can shift your attention to the track of love, just by seeing where you are, just by changing your attention. Everything around you will change. Finally, if you're aware that no one else can make you happy, and that happiness is the result of love coming out of you, this becomes the greatest mastery of the Toltecs, the mastery of love. We can talk about love and write 1,000 books about it, but love will be completely different for each of us because we have to experience love. Love is not about concepts. Love is about action. Love in action can only produce happiness. Fear in action can only produce suffering. The only way to master love is to practice love. You don't need to justify your love. You don't need to explain your love. You just need to practice your love. Practice creates the master. And that's half the book. I'll read the other half later. Chapter 5 is the perfect relationship. That's a good one. I just wanted to read it all the way through because it's so good. Stay tuned. And if you want to support the stream, you can. Thanks ahead of time.